time someone has assaulted the economy.
Let's go!
What happened here? The economy is in rough shape. The administration called us in for backup. He's been doing everything he can to keep the economy alive. This is the crime of the century. Someone must be held accountable for this atrocity. There could be one or a combination of factors that brought about this event. A delicate financial system, bets taken on complex and risky securities, and short-term funding methods. Innovative banking techniques made possible the creation of asset-backed securities. With the development of asset-backed securities, investment banks opened a huge market of mortgage-backed securities and collateral debt obligations. As housing prices climbed, MBS and CDOs became increasingly attractive investments. Credit default swaps played a special role in the financial boom. Credit default swaps made it possible to insure any pool of mortgage loan or mortgage-backed securities, seemingly eliminating the risk.
Indeed. Let's round up some suspects. We should start by talking to Government 1 and check up on the economy. There still might be hope in preventing this crime from turning into a murder.
Right to counsel.
Of course. So tell us, what happened? How did the economy end up in such a sorry state of affairs?
Well, it's a long story. I've been trying to save the economy. I didn't do anything wrong. I am only trying to do what is best for the entire country and perform my duties. Business on Wall Street is extremely important to the livelihood of the nation. What is good for Wall Street is good for Main Street. You see, after the collapse of Lehman Brothers, this government learned a valuable lesson. These financial institutions are too big to fail. If any of these banks fail, the entire economy collapses. And that's exactly what I'm trying to prevent. When you found me, I was working to bail out the banks and hence the economy.
So you're saying that you were only trying to save the economy. Well, who is your friend here?
This is my financial advisor, a respectable banker of Wall Street.
We would like to question him alone.
Why did you think it was a good idea to take huge risks and play with complex financial instruments that no regular investor fully understands? Did you care about these people whose lives have been ruined and houses foreclosed? From what we know, you are the one who is responsible for the collapse of the economy. All fingers are pointing at you.
It's business as usual. We had the shareholders and the bottom line to worry about. Everything I did was legal and conformed to regulations. Well, at least most everything. You may blame us, but at the end of the day, we were not the ones who failed to pay our mortgages. We were the victims. And this great nation is filled with respectable politicians who understood our concerns and were willing to help us out in our time of need. Because when we prosper, everyone prospers. The economy, the nation, you. Without me, there'd be no you. Everything I did conformed to the rules. The regulators were watching us all the time, and they never intervened. You know why that is? Because we played fair.
You made a good point. Where were the regulators in all of this?
Let's find out.
So, why are you in bed with Wall Street?
Excuse me?
You heard me. We know that you and the banker of Wall Street have been in good relations for many years now. Tit for tat situation, isn't it?
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a respectable official. I never sink as low as bribery.
Here is a list of campaign contributions.
Well, they gave me donations because they know I will help the nation prosper. These contributions have nothing to do with my beliefs that the financial institutions are important to the fate of the nation's economy. This nation was built with the belief that the economy must be left alone. We have a capital marketplace and it functions best when the government does not intervene.
From what I'm hearing, capital, power, politics, and the economy seem to all have signed into a weird, twisted marriage. All this talk of capitalism seems to be bullshit. The government is clearly in the pockets of Wall Street. These bankers get exactly what they want out of the government.
Bankers were playing with these complex securities, but they are right. It seems as if companies reported everything as they were supposed to. How were they able to get away with such inadequate reporting in their financial statements? The reporting methods are the ones we should look into. US GAAP and FASB could be to blame.
Financial accounting. Why didn't we think of that sooner? Accounting had to have played a role in the current financial crisis.
There's only one way to get to the bottom of this. Talk to an accountant.
The financial reporting standards played a role in the current economic situation. In your professional opinion, do you believe accounting standards played a role in the crisis?
Accountants always play an integral role in any business circumstance. Accountants at the time did not believe that they were intentionally harming anyone and were trying to provide an accurate picture of the financial position of these banks. However, I believe that the accountants underestimated the complexities of asset securitization. The banks have their own regulators separate from accounting associations, and there seems to be a lack of communication between these two organizations. The two regulating bodies having different objectives, provide their professions with different regulations to follow, and different information was released to the public. One issue which accountants may have overlooked is the fact that the information was that there was no reconciliation of the information released by the banks and the accounting financial statements. There was an unintentional lack of simplicity regarding the financial statement information, and therefore investors had difficulty interpreting the level of risk.
There have been recent changes in the accounting standards. In 2006, shortly before the economic downturn, the standard setters started allowing fair value accounting practices. Do you believe these changes in practices had anything to do with investor confusion?
Absolutely not. There have been many studies conducted that prove that fair value accounting is in fact more accurate and more representative of the conditions of a financial institution.
So accountants did nothing wrong?
Accountants worked with the banks to ensure that the reporting was done accurately and according to the accounting standards set at the time. We did our duty to make sure that the investors were provided with the information available. However, the level of disclosure required at the time was in some situations inadequate to inform the everyday investor of the bank's financial situation. Therefore, some of these standards have been changed following the meltdown. There are now rules regarding the disclosure of assets securitization and the banks with the assets that have been sold to other entities. With these new regulations in place, investors may judge the level of risk more accurately.
Accountants. They used to be so noble and nerdy, now they've turned into rule-bending studs.
Maybe they've been influenced by big business over the years. Accounting standards have influenced by the interests of banks, thus the ideology of accounting has also drifted towards helping business. This would explain the fact that there are loopholes that accountants were able to exploit. Closing these loopholes would be counterproductive to the interests of big business.
Or perhaps accounting, like everything else, are self-interested actors. They work for management who have an interest in making their financial statements look as good as possible. But we investigated everyone.
Not everyone.
You mean?
Yes.
What a dream.
Hey Justin, don't you tell the accountant